Hey everybody, Jess Intuitive Angel Healer here with your Grounded on Why Not Wednesday, and we have the beautiful Ivonne Santiago from Chicago. Welcome, Ivonne. Thank you so much for coming to my Empowerment Woman series.
Hello.
I am so honored for you and humbled that you accepted my invitation to come here and show what the face of an empowered woman looks like. And what it looks like is you.
Aw, thank you. I love
you
that.
you are so welcome. And truly, I'm not just saying that to be cool, but I only have 16 chosen souls that were, this was gonna be, I was just gonna, I didn't know what I was gonna do when I did this, but now I'm doing it. And now you're here and you are interview number 5. We had Julia this morning from Germany and she was awesome. But you're number 5 and we have 16. And if you know anything about numerology, 6 plus 1 is that's taking down the number, reducing it. Anyways, it's a 7, and then that goes 7 is the number of faith. So I think it's really cool that that's what this whole series is teaching is faith and how to empower other women. So if you can just tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, your name, how old you are, and where you're from, and a little bit about your profession.
All right. So I'm Ivonne. I'm 31 years old, and I have recently just started my passion and connected with my purpose and on my journey to be a life coach. And specifically, I feel like the words life coach tend to be diluted nowadays, and it seems to be very commonplace. So I like to say that I'm a transformational life coach because my goal is to transform people, bring them out of their shell and transform them into the beautiful person that they're meant to be. Just like a butterfly, it goes into their cocoon and comes out a beautiful butterfly. So that's my purpose.
Nice. And what inspired you to get into that, into the transformational life coaching career?
Honestly, it was this whole COVID situation that really sparked that fire inside me. I've always had a little bit of that flickering flame of wanting to coach and pursue that passion and that purpose, but it didn't ignite until we were at the shelter in place and home. And I'm thinking, how can I get out there and help people during this time? There's people struggling, there's people that need somebody to talk to, somebody to just motivate them and push them and encourage them. And that was when I decided to take that step into my dream and
Awesome.
pursue it and just go for it.
That's awesome. Then that's what this is all about. And see, that's exactly why you're here, because that is the message that we're trying to get out there to women today is that no matter what you're going through, you can change it. You have the ability to change whatever your situation is that you don't like. It's just up to you whether you do it or not. So
Right.
that's awesome. And how long have you been doing it so far?
So I just started. I am really in the infancy of my career.
Hey,
So
gotta start somewhere.
Gotta start somewhere. Exactly. And I think the beauty about it is there's some fear, but also at the same time, it's almost a energy of fear. Like the fear drives me to do better. So I'm not letting it hold me back.
Nice.
And I'm really excited to just dive in. And I've been really ticking away at getting things done and setting up my platform and making sure that I am really doing what is in line with me and with my soul and what I feel is beneficial for other people, and not sacrificing on my spiritual side of that.
And that's awesome too, because a lot of people when they take on a new thing, especially life coaching, a lot of people run into imposter syndrome, and that's where they end up trying to be, they see someone else and it's working for them, but we forget to say, hey, by the way, you know, we don't know where they're at on their journey. And that was the funniest thing when I started my business. I'm on my second year. In July, I'll hit my second year of business, which is fantastic. Um,
Congratulations.
yeah,
Awesome.
because I didn't, it's to get past your first year. So my second year, I'm like, wow, I'm awesome. I'm making it to my second year. But my first year, I kept beating myself up like, why am I not as good as them? Well, first of all, you've only been practicing your spiritual gift every day like clockwork for 3 years. These people have been doing it for 15. So give yourself a break.
Yeah, you got to give yourself some grace through the process. We are all born with gifts, but when we choose to cultivate them at different points in our lives, that's where it really starts to take off. And you can't compare somebody's level 130 to your level 5. You got to get
Exactly.
there.
Exactly. But I commend you and I like your attitude, and just keep doing this because where you're at now, you'll be at a whole different place in a year from now, but I guarantee you that you're gonna get there. I see because you got the passion and you don't want to just do it for the fame. I see the true and I feel the energy from you that you're a true love and light worker spirit that came to help others. So thank you so much for your service out here. This is I'm just so excited to chat with you today. I'm enjoying this series so much. I never knew I could meet, I've always met women and people. I've done sales. I traveled and did sales for direct sales for 10 years. So I've met people from all over the place, but this is really cool that I get to sit down and just have a conversation and get to
Right.
see a different woman's point, a different successful woman's point of view. That's what's awesome. So, all right, I just want to get into these questions real quick. So when you close your eyes and you and imagine an empowered woman, what description comes to your mind?
Ooh, I really like this one. I'm gonna close my eyes while I say it so I can
Yay,
do it from that way.
awesome.
um, when I close my eyes, when I see an empowered woman, I see a woman who is full of just grace, but humility. But also full of love and kindness and tenderness, but strong and decisive and able to stand her own ground. And honestly, I picture so many women. If I could just describe what I'm picturing right now, it's Black women, Asian women, of all race, sizes, color, in whatever way it looks, in ethnicity. And I just see so much passion in them. And I see the different smiles on their face that represent who they are. And I think that is true empowerment of a woman, to be
That's,
able
that's
to
amazing.
embody yourself fully in all the glitz, the glamour, but also in all the mud and all the lows too.
Yep.
That's what an empowered woman is being able to walk through with grace and dignity through the low times, but also carry the same grace and dignity in the high times.
And that's awesome because you do see my Marilyn back here.
Yeah.
And when I think of her, even though, her life was cut short, I feel that she came and she did live as a woman and she had that feminine aspect. She had the humility of it. She learned what it was to live in a man's world, but to speak her voice in her own little way. And she ruffled her own little feathers and paved the way for a lot of other women. And I really feel that women, or anybody that, this is my theory, that when people are taken from this earth early in spirit, like Jimi Hendrix, Marilyn Monroe, all the greats out there, Janis Joplin. I feel that they came and Amy Winehouse, like those people. I feel like they came here to teach us the lesson almost. Um, or they were here and they weren't doing what they were supposed to come here, because they came here with a special gift to offer the world, and they went left and they weren't supposed to take that left. And and so spirit upstairs said, yeah, pulled the plug and said, yeah, I'm sorry, we're gonna have to close the show. And I feel like that's why, because I've always wondered that, why do we lose all the great
Mm,
that's really awesome that women like her and yourself and others can it's all about paving the way,
mhm.
and showing it's okay that to ruffle a couple of feathers,
Yeah,
and be unapologetically
yeah,
you.
yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. So I love your description. That is the most amazing description right there. I love it. So tell us a little bit about your own personal path of empowerment. What was most significant? What was most challenging? And what was most rewarding?
I think that my road to empowerment was dealing and struggling with my own self-inflicted wounds a lot of the time, more than outside things happening to me. A lot of times we hear about these huge life events that alter us and shape us, which is true, and I've had some of those, but a lot of them have been self-inflicted. And I think my path to empowerment was being able to get out of my own way, was
Exactly.
to stop causing this drama and these scenes, and stop causing this turmoil and this pain within my life, and start looking at things from a different scope, from God's perspective. Like, he doesn't see me like that. He doesn't see me as this messy ball of nonsense that can't seem to get her shit together, or and I had to start viewing myself in his eyes, because that is where the true empowerment comes from, is being able to realize what you have to offer and share it with the world. And my journey started when my friend Dawn invited me to church, and I was just alive in the spirit. And from there, things just kept growing. I grew a circle of, well, beautiful, empowered women who lifted me up, and in turn, we were lifting each other up. And then I was at a point where my life just turned. It was a beautiful, scary moment, because they say once you know better, you do better. However, I don't necessarily believe that 1,000%. Just because you know is better doesn't mean you do better, but it means that you should.
Exactly.
It means that you should. And when you start building that tribe around you that knows you intimately and knows your growth story, knows your empowerment story, you're held to a different standard. You're
Exactly.
really given that motivation, but also that accountability to really live your true self and live your true path. So that's where I've been on. And it's been on my own self-inflicted things with causing trouble in my life. And then there's been other things that I didn't really have control over that impacted my life, but I've used that for the better. I learned from it. I didn't let it bring me down. And the times that it was starting to bring me down, I had a tribe around me that knew me for exactly who I was,
Right.
and they lifted me up, because that's what we need sometimes. Sometimes we need to have those really close friends that are there to be able to empower you again. Because empowerment is something that you generate. It's something that is within you that you have to keep fueling and feeding and moving forward and pushing forward. And sometimes our empowerment dips a little bit. Sometimes it dips a little, and we need to have those strong women behind us to be able to say, hey, that's not you. This is you. Let's get you back to that part, and let's make you keep growing. So I've been very fortunate enough to build a tribe of women around me that are able to help me in those times.
Well, that's awesome, and that's what it sounds like the most rewarding part of your journey so far is that you are really and like attracts like. So
Mhm.
when I tell people, if you have I hear horror stories, and I never discredit the horror, the pain of it. But I always tell people you have a choice. And if this awful person hurt you, you have a choice whether to keep them in your life, and you have a choice to raise your vibration higher, because more than likely that person's in your life because you are vibrating like a magnet, negative, your energy is so low that that's all you're pulling to you is the scum of the earth at that point. Because when I broke up with when I left my toxic 10-year marriage, I swear to you, it's like I must have had a really super low vibration, because it seemed like people were falling out of trees just to be low vibe energy people to do, like, get me to go do stuff, like, oh, come out to the bar, come out. And no, that's not me. I'm not that person. Why are you trying to take me to the lion's den? Stop it. But I learned to raise my energy, and once I did that, all those people disappeared. And one night, they all, like, woke up, and none of them were, like, they fell off the planet. It's crazy. So, it's crazy how we resonate our experiences in our lives, and we don't understand that sometimes the people in your life you hold on to, that you should let go of that energy, and replace them, because you can have a positive experience. Like,
Right.
you let go of the people that don't, aren't part of your journey, that aren't going to help you, and you got rewarded by getting new people that are going to help you and be a part of your journey. So kudos to you for that.
It just comes back to the saying, you got to get out of your own way. So
Exactly.
sometimes you're your own worst enemy. Sometimes you're the one blocking your growth, and you're the one in your own way. And you gotta be open to saying, hey, we gotta work on this.
Yeah, I think Pink said it best. I'm my own worst enemy.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, all right. What advice or suggestions? You talked about getting out of your way is one, but what advice or suggestions can you give to women that are currently walking the path of empowerment, or most importantly, trying to start walking the path? Because there's a lot of people out there that are in a lot of bad situations, that a lot of people put judgment on instead of love on. And what could what's some advice? Because we all hear all the pain, but nobody ever wants to give the magic, help. What is something that you've done, and what's some guidance you can give?
I think that one of the biggest things I've learned in my journey is it's okay to ask for help. And that path to empowerment doesn't just automatically happen. It isn't just this one day you wake up and you're like, oh, yes, I am the best version of myself I can possibly be. No, it doesn't work that way. It's incremental, it's steps, but you have to take the first step. And sometimes the first step is asking for help. It's asking for that friend to really be honest with you and have a real come to Jesus moment with yourself, and really sit down and yeah, and it really takes a moment. And asking for help is also not only outwardly but inwardly. Asking for help from yourself, asking your help from God, and saying, hey, I need you to show me. I open my heart, open my mind, open my eyes to the things that I am blinded to, the things that I'm numb to the things that I can't feel, hear, or anything along those lines. It's really taking a moment and doing what I call is like a whole life assessment, and really be brutally honest and bare your soul and your guts, and be brutally honest on where you're at in certain areas of your life that you expected to be further along. And then take the first step. Take that first step. Write it down. What do you need to do for your first step in getting out of the bad relationship? What do you need to do to take the first step to get on a better, healthy lifestyle? What do you need to take the first step to start your own business? Does that mean you need to start reading more? Does that mean that you need to connect with somebody else who is doing what you're doing? Do you need to get a mentor? we are not meant to walk life alone. We are not meant to walk life alone. Life is meant to be built in a community, and you're the president of your community. You get to choose who's in your life or not.
Yeah.
And then if you're feeling down and if you're not feeling empowered, you need to change those that are around you. Maybe it is what you're choosing to allow in your life. Sometimes you may need to let it go. So my three biggest thing, well, four would be to be able to take a life inventory, really sit down and go through the areas of your life that you would want to be better for yourself. Like, for example, some of the categories for me are my health, my spiritual health, my mental health, my physical health. And then I also look at my job, my career. I start looking at things that I feel that align with my life.
Nice.
So it's really just about that, and then taking the first step. What first step do you need to take to get yourself moving forward? And then do a self check, do a community check. Are the people in your life really there to elevate you? And not elevate you as in like you're walking on them to get to where you need to be, but walk hand in hand with you, side by side with you. And whenever you fall, they're there to be able to catch you, and not putting all that pressure on them, but being able to have it to be a symbiotic relationship. You need to have a community.
Nice. And I think that's very true. And that's my biggest thing is I tell people you may not be able to see the whole staircase, but if you
Mm-hmm.
can see the first couple of steps, just take those, because
Yep.
it's kind of like that game where only part of the screen is lit up, but spirit will always, like little breadcrumbs, show you the way. But you gotta change your mindset, and you gotta open up your mind to because spirit never not answers your prayers or your pleas, but uh you don't take the time to take the inventory of the answers either, I feel. So that's where a lot of times people are like, God never listens to me, spirit never listens to me. Do you listen to spirit though? Have you taken the time to?
Yes.
Because when I get upset, and I now that I've had my spiritual awakening, it's more intense. But even before, I get thousands of signs. I like literally, pennies will come out of nowhere and just start lining up, and it's crazy, and dimes and butterflies and you name it. I'm just like, I had a car, no joke, pull up next to me when we were on our way to the DMV to go get our little sticker that we just need to get the sticker because it didn't get sent. And we were kind of stressing because who wants to go there, especially with all this, and it's like appointment only, and it's a big headache. But I didn't want to get pulled over. Literally, a car pulled next to us with Psalm 27 on the back of the car, and I was like, that's a sign. Because
Mm-hmm.
I don't know all the Bible verses because I'm spiritual. I'm not, I don't study the Bible per se, but I do know enough because my grandmother was a Church of Christ Christian, so I'm very versed in all different religions, and I knew that was an important one. And I swear to you, it within there, I looked it up on my phone real quick, and it basically said to have faith in God. God will show you things. He'll show you the light or something along that line. And literally, we went there. An earth angel was at the thing. We didn't have an appointment. Somehow he was like, "All right, I'll sneak you in." And this is our thing. And all of a sudden, in 5 minutes, we're done. Yeah,
Wow.
powerful stuff. So I believe in your signs and start looking for signs. It's
Yeah.
not wishful thinking. That's the other thing, is we talk ourselves out of our sign. We get our sign and then we're like, nope, because
Oh,
we
maybe
don't
that
believe
wasn't the
we're
right
deserving.
one, or maybe it should have been bigger, or yeah, no, I've been
Well,
there. I
and
mean,
we
how much more bigger do you want it? You want me to just slap you upside the head? Like, what do
I
you need?
want flashing lights, thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, my angels are like face palming. You don't even know. My angels are like, don't even get me started on some stories. So, but that's okay, because you know what? We're human, and that's what I tell my clients, that it's okay, because that's why it makes a better relationship, because I am not I'm going to admit I am the hot mess president, not anymore, but that's why I am such a great coach, because I have lived it, I've done it, I've got the t-shirt, don't ever want to do it again, and I want to help save you some trouble. So
No, I feel it. That's great. I think there's beauty in all of that.
and you know, it's okay, but we have such a society has a hard time saying admitting to ourselves that we're not perfect, that we don't have to be held to this high standard that society is. That's what kills me, is
Yeah.
that it's okay, make mistakes, fall, trip, whatever. Nobody's going to remember it. And if they did, then they weren't your people, because the people
Yeah.
that do matter will remember your achievement.
Yeah. We definitely live in a society that idolizes perfection. But what drives me nuts is that perfection doesn't lead to growth. It really, growth and knowledge and learning happens in those stumbles, happens in those falls, those trips, those dips in life.
Exactly.
And you are selling yourself short by saying that you want perfection, because perfection means the end of growth. And I think that life is a continuous path of growth, that you should never, I don't think we'll ever achieve perfection. And that's the beauty, that perfection means the end. And I don't think that there should ever be an end to learning and knowledge and growth.
No, because then you're dead. That's
Yeah.
when learning stops, or you send off
Yeah.
this plane, and then that means you're dead. So,
Yeah.
yeah, you've got to keep growing, or you're not, you know, living the experience. So I love that. Now let's talk about a woman, and who or what inspires you to continue down your path as an empowered woman.
Oh, I have so many amazing women in my life. I have been blessed to be able to have a tribe and a community of women that inspire me. And it starts with my sister and my mother and my sister-in-law and my aunts and my small group community of women, um, and then just women I've met through work. I have really felt in my life I have been blessed with an abundance of strong women in my life. And even to my childhood friends, I just, all of them have a special place in my heart, and they have supported me. They have forgiven me for a lot of stupid stuff I've done. They still love me, and they still have this encouragement and life for me, that they just have that, and I love it. It's
Nice.
just that they inspire me to be better every single day.
Awesome. I love it. You know, that's what we need. And that, you know, that kind of leads me into my next question is, what is your vision or hope for professional women in the holistic and wellness field in the next 5 to 10 years? What would you what would help empower future women?
I think that a lot of women face this. I don't get me wrong, I love this. I love the Wonder Woman. I love Superwoman. I love the queen, be those things. I love those. But I think with that is that we as women individually take on that individual connotation with that. Like,
Exactly.
being Superwoman, I can't ever screw anything up. I have to do everything right. Being Wonder Woman, I can't say no. I have to say yes to everything. I got to make sure that everybody knows I can do it all. And then being the queen, making sure that everything is perfect and regal and my family is picture perfect. I think that I would unveil the,
Nice.
the imagery behind it, because if you look at history and you look at the queens in history, who, the garbage they had to walk through, the mistakes they made, the things they had to do to get where they were,
Oh yeah.
the children they had to raise. Not only that, but then even Wonder Woman's backstory. She made mistakes. She got some people killed in her life and had to really come up out of that and learn how to deal with that struggle. And then even superwoman, Supergirl, like she had to learn how to grow into herself. She didn't just come with this power. Like, I think that using those descriptions are beautiful, but I think we need to unveil behind that the work it took to become Superwoman, Wonder Woman, and a queen, and be strong, powerful woman. And I think it's okay to be sensitive. We are trying so hard to fight in a man's world, and I think part of that, we have lost our sensitivity that makes us a woman. We have lost the sensitivity that makes us separate from men, because we're fighting so hard to be equal, but we were created different for a reason.
Exactly.
We can be equal but different. So I think that is one thing I would love empowered women to know, is that don't lose the essence of your womanhood trying to fight to prove to somebody else something else. The only person you need to prove to is yourself. The only person that you need to prove to are those that you want to be held accountable to. There's no need to impress, the Joneses or Jack or whoever. They're not living your life. So stop taking on their energy and stop taking on the shame and the sadness and just all the jealousy of it, because it's just gonna make you wander down a hole you don't want to go into.
That is so true. And I would like to see women be women. Stop being so aggressive, because that's my biggest karmic lesson, is aggressiveness, because that's what I was taught, that if I wanted to survive my life, I had to be aggressive. And now I'm at almost 40, learning how to be a woman and feminine and not aggressive. And it's the hardest thing of my life. And but it's okay. I want women to know, be your woman self. That's what femininity is, and enjoy it and love it and embrace it, and don't let anyone take that away from you. Which is
Right.
especially fun, because I am about to ask you about
Yeah.
men and how how do you think men play a role in empowered women's lives, good or bad, in your life especially? Who is someone or something that has really helped you to be an empowered woman?
I think I have grown up with some really powerful role models of men in my life, starting just in my home with my father and my brother. And the beauty behind that is that my dad was not perfect. My dad struggled with alcoholism, and he just within the last 6 years, 5, 6 years, became sober. So
Good
for
for him.
almost my entire life, my father was an alcoholic. I'm
So was
30.
mine.
Yeah,
So was mine.
31, yeah. But there's not a day where I look back where my father was not my biggest fan. There's
Oh,
not a day where I don't look back and my dad wasn't at a baseball game or at a graduation. He missed a couple events, but he was trying to get better, so that's okay. But he always told me, you could do whatever you want to do. I'm working as hard as I can now, so you don't have to work as hard as I am now. And my brother was just always there when I needed him, even though when I didn't want him there, he was there. But they showed me consistency. They showed me love, and true love, the love behind, all the mess, the
yeah.
love behind all the disappointments, the love behind the picking yourself up and dusting yourself off, the love behind the fights, the love behind all of it, and
They
still to come
gave
out.
you a little tough love too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And they have been the most powerful role models for me in my life. And it was very difficult though, because those were some things that as a woman I had to overcome. Growing up with my dad and my brother, it was family, and you work hard no matter what. But it was also something that I had to learn in my own personal relationships with men, that it wasn't my job to fix other people. It wasn't my job to support them and not be supported in return. And that was something I had to grow and learn. So I think men in a role of empowered women, I think that they hold a very high role in empowered women. I think that men can be a strong comfort for empowered women. They could be a safe place for empowered women, and they can be a supporter for empowered women. And you just have to make sure that you're in tune with your male partner or your male friend or your male family member, whoever's there that's aligned with you in your journey, and make sure that, like you said, attracting the right people to you.
They can also be the lesson. Guys
Oh,
can also be the toxic factor of why you do things. That's why I finally broke through with my gift, was because I left a 10-year toxic marriage. What would you say to that for the ones that on the bad aspect of guys that need a little encouragement? Or
absolutely.
what have you done in a situation in your life that you could reflect on?
Oof. All right. Well, I actually just recently, within the last 7 or 8 months, got out of a toxic relationship. Um,
Good
I
for you.
was, I was headstrong. I started this relationship. It was great. It was beautiful at the time, and God was showing me signs. I was getting those red flags. I was getting those stop signs left and right, left and right. I mean, I'm pretty sure I ran into one at one point in time. And I just was like, no, I can do this. I can do this. And we're going to do this. We're going to get married. We are going to have a house. We are going to have children, and you're going to want it too. And you're going to want to do it with me. Okay. This is happening.
We've all done it. We've all been there.
And that's the thing, is that, and it wasn't until like it just started to unravel. And no matter how hard I tried to keep it together, and no matter how hard I tried to justify the actions, no matter how hard I tried to justify the cheating, the lying, all of it, the emotional aspect, the emotional abuse behind it, at one point I really fell to my knees, and I was just like, God, what do you want me to do? What should I do? What should I do? And it was as clear as a bell. As 7 months ago, it was as clear as a bell. It was like, you gotta let go. You gotta let go.
Yeah,
You
that's
gotta let
hard.
go of a future that you're picturing. You have to let go of something that hasn't even happened. You are hanging on to something that isn't even there. Literally, I was hanging
Exactly.
on to an image of what my life could be, but I didn't have the person in my life that could make that possible. I was holding on to this idea, and I had to let it go. I had
Yeah.
to let the idea go, and I had to let God lead me where I need to be. And it was hell. It
Mm.
was shitty. I had to take a few days off of work. I was bawling my eyes out at work. I couldn't function, boogers. My mom came over to my house and slept in my bed with me. I had my community of women that were, I had it all. Like, I had to fall apart to build back up. I had to
Nice.
fall apart in order to get where I needed to be, because I had to undo all the things that I had created. He played his part, yes. He did stupid shit, yes. But I allowed it. I allowed that
Exactly.
in my life. So I had to start undoing all the hurt and all the pain that I allowed that to happen in my life. And I had to start taking ownership for it.
Yeah.
And I mean, like I said, there's some areas that I didn't play any part in, that he was a dumbass on and did himself. But I think the hardest part in those lessons, in those times, is really to turn the scope to you and really flip it and say, okay, what can I learn from this?
Nice.
What did I do? What can I change in me? How can I make this into a growth? And I think that's where a lot of us stop when we go through these relationships and we go through these moments, and we get to a point where it's toxic and it breaks off, and we finally make that choice. We're like, whew, that's done. That's out of my life after, a few months, several months, whatever, however long it takes to heal. But we never get to the growth. We stop at the like, oh, thank God that's out of my life. But then what's the next step? It's not, there's a learning moment. What's the learning moment? You got to get to that learning moment, because you don't want that life event to happen in vain. You don't want all that pain, all of that to happen in vain. There's a lesson in that. And that requires you to take a look at yourself. That really requires you to look inward and be painfully and brutally honest. And hell, if you're already breaking down anyway, you might as well just keep going and just dig it in and just try to dig it all out, get it all out. You spit it all out.
Exactly.
I've been there.
So we're gonna just ask you one more quick question, and then we're gonna wrap this up. But because we ran over a little bit, but hey, this is just a real relaxed, chill interview anyway. So I'm not worried about it. But I would like to know, what is a self-care regimen that you do follow, because burnout is the biggest thing with healers and coaches and our line of work and being an empath, and just listening to a bunch of negative energy, because your job is to reciprocate that and feed them kind of like a filter, like an air purifier. That's kind of what we are. But what does a day look like for you, a regimen? What do you do for self-care to prevent that?
So a lot of my practices and techniques that I do really focus on a connection between the body and the mind. I think a lot of us tend to neglect our body in trying to generate and cultivate energy for our mind. So I really have started honing in on my diet, on my eating, and making sure that what I'm eating is nutritional and nourishing for my body and my mind. I've also been practicing better sleep patterns, getting to bed at a certain time, waking up at a certain time. That's key. I mean, these are simple things that we learn, but we just need to put into practice. I do a meditation and prayer every morning before I start my day, and I set my intention for the day. I say, today I want this out of my day, going into this meeting or going into this area of my life, going into my work. What is the intention I'm setting? What presence or energy do I want to bring with me? And I align myself with that. I align myself with that in my spirit and my mind. And then I also do a little workout, whether that looks like a walk or a little bit of like a video on my TV. And then I plan my day. Like if you open up my calendar, it's you know what I'm doing, you know where I'm going, you know where I'll be. And that's key for me, because I have to have that time blocked out so that my mind and my body and my spirit work in unison during those times.
I love it. I love it, because this is what I teach women, is that you have to have some kind of schedule daily. And I'm not a big fan of like tight schedules, but I like I have to have a pattern, and you have to form a pattern of self-care, and you have to. It drives me crazy when people say I don't have time for myself. Well, you just decided that your self-care wasn't part of your time, and that's what I've learned, is that we don't make any time. But there's 24 hours in the day. We can't schedule 1 hour for ourselves. That's amazing.
Yeah, I agree.
I laugh at that every time. I'm like, okay.
Oh, there's simplicity in wisdom, and there really is. There's like, the more simple it is, sometimes the more wise it sounds, and the more simple it is, the more disciplined it is.
Exactly.
Like, sometimes it's just starting simple, waking up at the same time every day, going to bed at the same time every day. Like, those simple things are self-care. I think people tend to neglect that, and I'm just like, that's basics. That's self-care 101.
Stop drinking coffee to replace your sleep. That would be one. I'm
Yes,
thinking energy drinks to replace your sleep. That would
yes,
be number 2.
yes. Focus on real foods, real things that can nourish your body, nourish your mind. Like people have done this for centuries. Human
Yes,
beings have done this for centuries before 5-hour energy, before before caffeine, like concentrated caffeine. I
yes.
mean, and they seem to get pretty far. I think we can figure this out.
I think we're gonna be all right. So, all right. Well, what advice can you give the group about how to not deny themselves of self-care and how to not settle for anything less than their dreams?
I say this: denying yourself self-care is it's like starving yourself of food and drink. If you need to eat and you need to drink in order to survive in life, you need self-care just as equal to that. It needs to be a basic fundamental need, and you need to see it as a fundamental need, because you cannot pour into others and you cannot serve others and be your bright light, be yourself, and really move the world and move your world, whether that's 24 people, 2 people, 1,000 people, 1,000,000 people, if you are not taken care of. So you
Or
need,
from an empty pot.
you can't, you just can't. You
Yes,
can't. You're going to risk burnout. You are going to risk depression, stress, anxiety, you name it. You need to take care of yourself before, and it's true, you got to take care of yourself before you can take care of other people. You got to make sure you have the energy and the wherewithal and the clear-headedness to be able to help other people and help yourself. You need that to help yourself.
exactly. Well, I love it. I love your advice. I love this whole interview. I think you're an awesome woman, and that is why I made you a certificate of an empowered woman. And I went ahead and sent that to your email because you truly are the face of what an empowered woman is. And you really don't know how many, and I'm getting chills right now. You really don't know how many souls that you're touching right now just by being putting your truth out there and sharing your journey. So thank you so much for coming. I appreciate it.
Thank you. I loved it. I had a great time.
Awesome.
You keep up the good work too, doing all this and putting your light out there and spreading your love. I just think that's amazing.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Um, Join us next Wednesday. This is interview number 5 with the Why Not Wednesday Empowered Woman Spotlight. And join us next week when we'll be having a few more empowered women. Thank you so much, Ivonne, for coming and sharing your journey. It was truly amazing. And love and light to you, everybody. Love and light. Thank you so much for joining. You're grounded. Have a
Thank
wonderful evening, everybody.